One thing about evidence is that it's there, it's truth. The evidence is always the truth. One thing about evidence is that it's there, it's truth. The evidence is always the truth.
Where did the towers go?
It's undeniable that the buildings went away.
Where is all the rubble? It seems so flattened.
If they had collapsed to the ground, you'd have a pile of debris that would correspond to 210-story buildings. That didn't happen.
Where did the towers go?
There ain't enough rubble. I mean, where are they?
There's no debris. You just can't account for the missing material.
Toasted cars, we got to get to the toasted cars. I say they're toast, they're history. I can't say they're burnt because I don't know that. But they're toast. I just decided to use that word to say something happened, messed them up. You can't fix it, you got to get a new one. It's history. This is a police car found on FDR Drive. I don't know how it got to, I don't know where it was toasted. There were some that were witnessed as being toasted on FDR Drive. But this one is quite interesting in that it has an abrupt, toasted, not toasted. Like it's like it's on the showroom floor. It just had a new wax job back there. What abruptly stops? A real fire, a regular fire, doesn't do that. It would be lapping around the corner. Also, why aren't the lights melted? And you have the circular spot on the other side. Gas tank is still, fine.
Hey, aloha guys, Eric West here, HawaiiRealEstate.org, coming to you live from Lahaina Luna neighborhood, Maui, Hawaii. Citizens impromptu reporter, wasn't planning on doing this, but this is what we're doing, and I'm thankful to have a Starlink from David Crawford, and we're here reporting on what I believe is potentially a smoking gun of sorts. We just don't know what it is, but I'm going to show you the scenario of this car and what's surrounding it and how temperatures could reach this level, creating this amount of melting of aluminum. I'm here with Donovan. He is, I believe, a hero of sorts. Aloha, Donovan. Because he was the one that brought it to my attention that we have these very strange occurrences. We just shot down on the highway. I don't know if it was actually live, but we have it all recorded, so we're going to post it. We're at another one of these locations. So this is well above the burn zone, essentially, in a neighborhood known as Lahaina Luna. I'm going to show you around real quick so you can see the scenario and then judge for yourself. And again, if you enjoy content like this, I encourage you to please like the channel, subscribe, and share the video so you can get the truth of what's going on here at Maui. So where I'm at right now, just to orientate you, you can see the lights for the football stadium right there at Lahaina Luna. So we're right below Lahaina Luna High School in the neighborhood that did not, I repeat, did not burn. You can see all these houses are standing around here, unburned. There's no burn here, okay? So to me, this is like something out of a space movie, because you have this small field with some grass that burned, right? You can see where the grass burned. But then you have these two vehicles sitting in here that have melted.
Oh, yeah.
This is where all the toasted cars we're seeing that I'm aware of, as well as the toasted car lot. And the ones we were looking at were down here. And an emergency medical person said you could tell it was hot at the Trade Center because you could feel the heat from the bridge. But paper wasn't burning down here. How could somebody over here, 3/4 miles away, feel heat? Something that they perceived as heat.
And
You said you saw melted tour buses, melted cars.
The cars that were right down there, it was just unbelievable. They were twisted and melted into nothing. The debris is just unbelievable. And then you can see fire trucks and police vehicles that were down there early that all their windows, the windshields are completely blown out must have been from when debris dropped.
But even more jarring, I think, is this scene right here. Look at these two cars placed on top of one another. I think when you think about the impact that these planes must have had, it's hard to visualize.
I don't know what to say.
Because everything melted. But here, at least you have some remnants. You have literally an engine that is melded together with other parts of the car. Moving over, you've got another car they moved here. It looks like it's been through a war. You can see the papers, all the burned out papers from the building. You see the soot and the dirt, and it just shows you how devastating this blast was. Look across the street there. You've got a Con Ed truck that, some of the Con Ed people now looking at, examining, trying to figure out which truck that actually was. But that truck, too, in terrible shape. So while many of the items, the steel, was literally melted.
People who have been right down next to the base of what was the trade towers say there's virtually nothing.
Yes, we'll stop here on this toasted bus picture. Realize there's no burnt marks, no scorch marks. The toasted bus. But yeah, these poor reporters, they're doing the best they can. Remember, the evidence is the truth that a theory must mimic if a theory is correct. Starting out with a theory, if you haven't figured out what happened first, you're just solving an imagined problem, not a real problem. So it's so important to look at the evidence. As we've seen, the evidence is showing us a different story than what we were led to believe. Now this toasted bus, notice there's no big flame marks running up beside the bus. No scorch marks. Is this echoing? Oh. And then we have also this vehicle that's already rusted. You can see Building 7 is still standing. Every car up this road was toasted in some way. Every vehicle. I call this the swamp. I think you can see why. Is it the sound? Oh, yeah. No door handles. Yeah. Not a trace of window glass. Just gone.
Go.
Aluminum. So Donovan, if you want to just take us through this car real quick and show us, I know you know a few things about cars, you can point out some things that require a very high temperature. By the way, we just talked to the neighbor who was talking to an investigator in Lahaina town yesterday, and he said the investigator told him the temperatures reached in excess of 3,000 degrees. So tell us what you got, Donovan.
Well, we have about 300 degrees for aluminum, and this
300?
1300.
1300, okay, thank you.
1300, well 1220, but if you round it up, because it was not only melted, it was liquefied to the point where it became a river of aluminum going down the dirt hill.
So this is the aluminum rim, obviously. There's the tire, what's left of it, the steel threads or steel belts.
And maybe combination gas tank if the gas tank's aluminum.
Okay, okay. So you have liquefied aluminum running down the side of a grass fire.
The caliper melted, unless they stole it, but it looks like the bolts are still there. So that, and then you get the steel belts of the tire, which is just a bunch of a wire mesh laying there, and you have the windows that were melted, the back window. If you look at the big old, almost like
the glass is just melted.
Yeah, it was
dripping.
This is almost what you would see if you put a car in an incinerator.
But this is not surrounded by a bunch of structure fires or anything.
Yeah, there's no fuel.
So besides the gas that was in the tank, what's your theory on what could create temperatures of this level in the middle of a field?
Anomaly, I think is the word.
So this is the second anomaly.
Yeah, it's just that's why I stopped. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, house. Nothing's burned, and then you have melted steel and glass And then the only thing that is left is the steel, the thick steel frame, and then the steel sheet metal.
So I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but the media has not been given access to Lahaina town. Everything is locked up. Matter of fact, this gentleman next door, he was on Front Street yesterday and he was supposed to get access, and then the mayor shut it down because people were taking pictures. So they don't want pictures taken of anything in Lahaina town because they don't want you to see this, would be my guess. Because the more that you take a look at this, and especially in this scenario, if there was a car like this in the middle of Lahaina, you might think to yourself, well, okay, it was in the middle of this major burn. There's an animal that died here or something. I'm smelling that looks
must
like,
be a cat that was under there.
That smells like a dead something.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
Maybe.
sad. That is so sad. That's someone's dog.
Yeah, it's definitely dog hair.
Oh. So now we have another vehicle right next to it. Talk to me about this one, Don.
Yeah,
What are you seeing?
It's symmetrical with the other one.
Yes.
Pretty much identical. I mean, the heat is just tremendous, tremendous heat. Melting glass, melting metal, incinerating the tires to the point of, you know, the only thing you see is the steel belts, which actually fall apart like spaghetti noodles when you touch it.
So the media is not allowed in here. No one's allowed in Lahaina town. So the only way this message is going to get out right now is if you, until your fingers bleed for America, start sharing this video.
Look what it did to the steering wheel. I mean, all it is the steering column.
We the people is all we got left here. And the more we get the word out and the more people start seeing this crazy anomaly, and then we're seeing it in a lot of different places. Donovan here has been on a scooter. He was at the scene of the crime the day of the fire. He was helping people, rerouting them away from Lahaina as the cops had not blocked the southbound traffic until you got almost to Front Street.
Grass.
And notice the green grass here. Now, it's only been 2 weeks. I don't know if that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks of growth?
Is that 2 weeks of growth? We have green grass. You think is that 2 weeks of growth? Okay, maybe it is. But there's a lot of green grass here. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone tell me how fast does grass grow? Is that 2 weeks of growth? Someone dumped some trash in there, right? I wonder who did that. It's kind of weird.
Some nice people.
Some nice people.
Yeah.
Lazy.
But if you don't share this story, I don't know who will, man. Someone's got to start putting this out to the people that can help. I've had people tell me, hey, you guys got to go do something. Really? We just got like a little 5G back and it doesn't even work. Every phone call we make drops. Right? Do you hear what's going on here? Are you hearing me loud and clear? They are creating a situation where it's impossible for us to communicate. Right, I'm on a Starlink that's in the back of my truck over there. Thank you, David Crawford. So that's the reason I'm able to transmit this message, assuming you're getting it. If you're not, I have it recorded and I will post it after we go live.
See if you can get down and let's see inside the motor.
Does the hood come up?
Oh, the motor's melted.
The motor's gone.
It looks like the block is melted.
And what's the block made out of?
Probably aluminum.
Probably aluminum.
If it melted, yeah. An iron block usually would hold out a little bit longer.
I mean, is it possible that they're making these cars with different types of materials that just have a lower melting point? But even if they did, it wouldn't make any sense because we're in a field with just a little bit of grass.
The block is still there. It's turned sideways.
The block is still
there? But the aluminum valve cover is still melted to death.
So can a grass fire...
But how does it burn underneath the hood? That's the thing.
Underneath the hood is protecting it from heat, right?
Or oxygen.
Oxygen.
You can't get in there.
Right. So you have no combustion. And again, if you're just tuning into this live, the edge of the fire went to that little grass. This was all just grass, no trees. You can see a couple of trees right there. It just went to the edge of the sidewalk. I mean, not even to the sidewalk. It just went inside of this fence, and then it stopped right before it got to this guy's thing, this guy's house. And just to orientate you, here you can see the roadblock of the National Guard right there. That is where the fire burn area starts at the top. Not the top, but of Lahaina Luna. Sorry guys, I'm all over the map here. That, if you can see that blockade, that's actually where the burn zone is. So the fire was down there, okay? The fire was down there. This is above the we're above the bypass. The fire was below the bypass. There was no fire here, except for this little tiny field.
Supposedly it only started a quarter mile away.
So we're gonna go there next?
We can and go take a look.
Next we're gonna go to where we think the fire may have started. This is interesting too. Is this 2 weeks worth of grass growth? Maybe it is.
No.
3, 2. Oh man. More debris falling from a nearby building, the World Trade Center. We're at West Broadway and Barclay. Very difficult to breathe here, but look around. This must have been ground zero where this thing blew up. Car after car after car, buses completely obliterated and burned straight down to the steel. Behind me.
He was describing it the best he could. Here's more of that street. And notice no door handles. Now that in itself isn't surprising, but we're just noticing the patterns. It seems that door latches, trunk lid latch, this door, door latches and door handles were completely gone. Also, this looks like it was sandblasted, ready for a new paint job. Not a trace of window glass left in that. And that's what seems to be a trend with the toasted vehicles. Something happens to the engine compartment too, like this one down here. And notice again this distinct abrupt line between different parts of the car. Now, often folks say, well, that's just like any old burnt car. Here are burnt cars up at the top. Notice these rings of burn marks around it. And burnt cars also have remains of window glass. See, this is clean down here. And here we have traces of window glass left. And of course, there's a lot left there. But the ones at 9/11, there's not a trace. The ones that are seriously toasted. Doesn't look like these are uniform colors, like they've been sandblasted, ready for a new paint job. And the insides are completely toasted. I think they threw this stuff in afterwards. But the stuffing is still partly here in the burnout car. So there's a bunch of cars that appear to go into spontaneous combustion up in that parking lot. And we have various views of that, and my detractors often say, well, the cars were towed. They were burned elsewhere and were just towed through junkers. But we have photos of them before, during, and after. Now, here's the toasted car. See how it looks like this flame coming out of them, but the sea of unburned paper in between. The building's over here, the towers. And here again is tower still standing. And there's the untoasted cars. They're not even toasted yet.
It looks like the fire missed right there.
Interesting.
But you notice that house is untouched there.
Yeah, let's just scan the houses next door so you can see for yourself that all these homes are perfectly fine. So there's no fuel to create the fire that's powerful enough. It's like if you burned your campfire next to your car and then this happened to your car next.
Well, everybody's thrown beer bottles or bottles in their fire, in their campfire.
Right.
And I mean, look at the windshield. It's almost gone in the back windows.
So does everyone just need to go take a little Wikipedia tour on the melting points of things and just do some research?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is that a good idea? So, because I didn't know much about melting points before all this started, and I'm a skeptic when it comes to all things outlandish, but to me, this is what now seems outlandish to me. And again, if you're just joining right now, please share the video because we're trying to get the word out. What's going on in Maui? Give to the Lahaina Fire Fund if you can. We've raised over $500,000. Every penny will go back into the hands of survivors. We're going to document it all. Don't worry. If you want to give directly to survivors, I'm going to try to get Donovan here to give me his Venmo if he wants to, so that he can go give the money you give to him to the people that he knows that were affected. He doesn't need any money. I don't need any money, but we are trying to raise money. And the idea that I came up with, tell me what you guys think. Again, this is sort of like a public forum, if you will, for ideas. What if we create a fund called Buy Back Lahaina, and we make t-shirts, beautiful t-shirts. I've already contacted one of my favorite artists, Everything Burned, all of his originals.
That's what I do, actually.
He has 2 galleries on Front Street, all of his original work, 20 years worth of sketchbooks gone. He can't even come on camera, he's so destroyed. But I'm trying to...
And here's that toasted car lot. But we're going to look at various directions of watching this dustification. There's a cluster of core columns that remains here. Watch what happens to them. They just faint. I believe that's the upper part of where those firefighters survived in Stairwell B. Those are core columns. This is another one. See how it peels away like a banana? And you see this clear air around it. Some folks like to say dust settled on it. Well, dust can't settle on something like that fast without seeing it. And there's from across the river, you can see those 2. And then there's a sequence from the northern view. And, you know, my detractors like to say, oh, it fell over. And because the dust was so fine, it hung in the air. Well, if the dust is so fine, it hung in the air, how could it be settled instantly on these vertical columns? We saw how it was peeled away like a banana. But it comes a point where it's no longer a crisp boundary and just turns to dust. I call it dustification. Wait, where have we seen it before? There's one more around it. But you're told to see a collapse, so you tune that out. You can see all of this just frothing up into dust. That part. And it's also blowing downward. Very clean edges. So it isn't like dust was settling on it.